Hey friends, I hope this finds you doing well, and I want to thank you for tuning in once again. If you're watching this on YouTube, if these are a blessing to you, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and also forward it on to some friends. I'm also posting it on Facebook and Instagram, so I just encourage you to get the good word out. In 2 Corinthians chapter number 5, Paul was trying to encourage and remind the believers that heaven is our eternal home, that death is not a threat. And he referred to the physical body simply as a tent. I had a friend who used to always call it our earth suit, because it's very easy to think of ourselves as physical beings that hope to go to heaven one day, but God created us as spirit beings who have a soul and live in a body. And so our relationship to this body and the world is very different when we realize that we were created to be eternal beings. So in 2 Corinthians chapter number 5, beginning in verse number 6, Paul says, "So we are always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Yes, we are of good courage, and we would rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please Him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil." Well, I think some important things to take away from this little section is to remember that Paul wasn't afraid of death. He knew that if he left this physical body behind, he would experience the presence of God maybe like never before. So even while as believers we know that Christ lives in us and we have His presence in us, we don't experience it to the fullest, because what Paul calls in Romans the flesh, not the physical body, but the Greek sarx, that self-sufficiency still has some influence, and we're tempted, and we don't always do or say the right thing, and so there is some conflict while we're in this body. But we're looking forward with great courage that time that we will be away from the physical body and experience the full presence of the Lord. He says, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." So that is an important reminder that as children of God, that we walk by faith. And faith is my receptivity to God's activity. Faith is not me wanting something to be true, but me living my life out in accordance with what God reveals to me. So when I live by faith, I hear the prompting of God. I see what the scripture teaches me. I listen to the indwelling presence of God, and I live out that direction, that will, that purpose, because that's what faith is. It's simple obedience to the direction, the divine purpose of His indwelling life. So however He wants to live through me, I yield myself as a vessel. I live by faith, not by sight. And this life of faith, this life of surrendered obedience to the indwelling presence of God, may be completely contrary, may even seem crazy to someone in the world, but we don't walk by sight, we walk by faith. He says again, he says, yes, we are of good courage. And we would rather be away from the body and at home for the Lord. And other places, Paul says, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. He tells them that for me, it's good to be absent from the body. But for you, it's better that I stay behind. But he encourages them in verse 9. He says, so whether we're at home or we are away, we make it our aim to please him. So stop for a minute and meditate on this thought. What is the aim, the purpose, the meaning, the goal of my life? Because as disciples of Jesus Christ, it should be simple. It should be this simple. As long as I'm here, and up to the point he takes me into the full experience of his presence, my purpose, my aim is simply to please him. He who has made me pleasing, and he who has made me accepted, he who has made me righteous and beloved, he who has found me pleasing, now gives my whole life and meaning, purpose, one aim: to please him. Not to be distracted by the things of the world, but to please him in all things. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. I don't think that we need to be afraid of a judgment seat of Christ. But we do remember that as we live in faithful surrender to his indwelling presence, we do have the promise of an inheritance, which the scripture says is our reward for how we yielded, for how we surrender to his indwelling presence. It doesn't have anything to do with going to heaven, but there are certainly rewards, and I'm not sure that I understand it all, but listen, I just hunger and desire, and I hope that your hunger and desire is that every day that we're here, that we would just seek to please him, to live in surrender to his indwelling presence, that he who gave his life for me, that he could live in me, would have absolute liberty to live his life through me. Well, think about that and meditate on this truth, and I hope that is your passion as well. I love you. I hope you have a great day, and to see you soon. God bless.